Hi, everyone. I hope you guys can hear me. Um, this is probably one of the most difficult Facebook Live I will probably ever do in my life um, because it's taking me extreme amounts of courage to do it. But I'm doing it because it is my hope that by doing this Facebook Live and sharing this deeply, any human being on the planet. Hi, Chandama. Thank you so much for watching. It is my hope that every single human being on the planet that have experienced extreme amount of fear to the point that it paralyzes you from being all of who you are. It is my hope that after this Facebook Live, after my share, that you're inspired to be courageous and find the courage that you need to rise above that fear. Because, beautiful beings, I have learned from this journey all of those fears that we experience, most of the fear actually that we experience in this particular area that I'm talking about comes from self-judgment. And before my Facebook Live this morning, I am not kidding you when I say I was extremely nervous to the point I was actually physically shaking, something that I did not expect to happen, because I haven't had that type of reaction to fear in a very, very long time. My palms are like freezing right now. My hands are freezing. They were sweaty. I'm actually holding on to this rock that says courage that I received as a gift from someone 2 days ago. And prior to that, I tried to avoid doing the Facebook Live, but the universe is screaming at me, Francesca, if I don't do this, doing this live, speaking and sharing in this regards, not only could it help a lot of people, but I did tell the universe, ask the universe to work through me, and so forth. And that's why I've been doing this journey, this inner work journey, as deeply as I have been. So here I am. I eventually got the courage. Actually, I was listening to Metallica for some liquid courage prior to doing this live. So this is how challenging this was for me, how much fear came up for me from, again, that place of self-judgment. I was listening to Metallica in the particular song. I post a few words about it at the bottom of my description, and because every single word, rings true. It's truth. It's truth. It's my favorite Metallica song. I've listened to it, and I don't even listen to Metallica, but that one song I do. And it's called Nothing Else Matters. Something that I have learned from the universe in this journey over and over and over again. Not only does nothing else matters, and you get to a state of beingness where you come into that realization that nothing else matters and nothing is what you think it is. Nothing is as it seems. And how we see things, we're seeing it through the eyes of our ego and our conditioning and all of the delusions, we're not seeing it from our highest authentic self, we're not seeing it from our conscious, right? Or conscience. We're seeing it through the eyes of our fear. We see the world through the eyes of our own self-judgment, because we judge ourselves so harshly. And then we not only judge ourselves harshly, we project some of those judgments on others, on the people around us, on the world, without realizing that it's the way we see ourselves. It's the same type of judgment the same way that we judge ourselves. So today and this entire week, actually, every single person that I've spoken with, like all of my clients, the subject of judgment came up. And it came up because, and this is what I mean, the universe has been screaming it at me. It came up because, every single person that I spoke with said, Francesca, and they've always said this, thank you for allowing me, I feel so relieved being able to just, it's like just empty myself, and I can be all of myself when I talk to you, and when we get into certain depths of coaching, we start to unpack things that are really, really deep. And that's when they say, oh my God, Francesca, I feel exposed, like completely exposed. I have nowhere else to hide, and that's when I share my personal story with them, and not the whole story, but particularly the part of my story when I did what I call the walk to authenticity, becoming one with my highest authentic self. It was the walk or the part of my journey that not only taught me or showed me every single dark or what we would see as dark part of ourselves, from within. It showed me every single thing that I've done wrong in my life or that I feel was wrong in my life because of my own self-judgment and the way I feel people would judge me came up during that walk of authenticity. It was the part of my journey that was responsible for my deepest spiritual awakening, because I had to go into places that, because of shame and guilt, and again, these are all associated with self-judgment, because of shame and guilt and extreme amounts of fear of seeing myself as a person that, and seeing things about myself that I would normally avoid acknowledging about myself. And the universe was teaching me, and believe you me, the universe helped me, and I thank God for that. All of the angels helped me, all divine beings before us helped me, and that's a beautiful part of this. When you're doing that walk to authenticity, you're not walking alone. Okay, and the universe was there to support me every step of the way. And despite knowing that, even though I knew that, okay, every single fear that I can possibly imagine, every single dark thought that I've had in my entire life would come up, and it would come up and it would show itself to me. And I would either have to choose, this is the part of my journey where I had to choose, okay? And this is the point of in your journey where everybody, we have to make a choice. This is the part of the journey where I choose. Do I give up because I don't have the courage to acknowledge this dark thing that just showed itself to me? And I'll get into the details of that just I want to make sure I explain this very, very clearly before we dive right in. And I had to choose, do I continue because I'm seeing this thing about myself and I'm feeling this way about myself? So do I give up on the journey at this point because I don't have the courage to face myself and walk this journey to authenticity? Or do I trust in the universe, and trust in the fact that it is showing me, that it's carrying me as I try to do this walk, you know, and just do it without thinking too much, and just surrender to it, and allow it to see, allow this higher vibrational energy to unfold me, or to help me unfold myself, and see what happens. And every time I felt like giving up, I would come to that, point of realization, and knowing that if I just say, fuck it, I'm not going to do this. No way, I'm not going there. I'm not going to that darkness. I'm not going to see myself that way. That is not who I am. And what if somebody, worst case scenario, what if somebody finds out that I've thought these things in my life, or that I've felt these things in my life, or I've done these things in my life, all of these things that came up, which we'll talk about. What if somebody finds out, then I'll be exposed. And, once I'm exposed, my whole life is over, and of course, in the middle of this coming up, as you guys know, I've been building my company for 4 years, Brothers in Arms Building Better Lives. So, once I'm exposed, it's going to have this, ripple effect, all of these imaginations, okay, imaginary thoughts, that every single one of them, okay, and I can go on and on about these thoughts, like it's an endless flow of thoughts that came up, every single one of them coming from the energy of fear. Fear that resided so deeply inside of me, fear that made me believe that this self-judgment, that I've had, about myself, and about, how I saw the world, so the reality in which I was seeing the world versus the actual reality of what it is, was completely different. But this fear was so deeply rooted in self-judgment that there were days when I couldn't even see past it. And some of those things that came up for me, like I said, as I was doing this walk to authenticity, thank God I've got through. I made it through, and I came out on the other side, beautifully on the other side, because right after it was over, within a few days, I actually was kind of plunged in to my second level of enlightenment, and it was the most beautiful experience in the world. So, again, there's hope at the end of that tunnel. But during my walk of, to authenticity is when I learned some of the deepest things about, it wasn't just about myself, it was just about humanity as a whole, just about being human. About our conditioning, and how that conditioning affects how we see ourselves, how we feel about ourselves, and how we see ourselves and how we feel about ourselves is what we project out to the rest of the world. It's how we see others, and it's how we feel about others. So it's all connected, right? And, every single, like I said, in the journey of authenticity, as you do that walk, every single thing you have done in your entire life that you were told is bad, or you should feel bad about, every single one of them came up. Okay. For me, when I was younger and I stole from my sister, I was about 13 years old. Every single time that I stole money from her, which it was about 3 times, because I had a boyfriend and he was technically looking back at it now, he was actually blackmailing me for money. So, I didn't have, I would always spend all my money whenever I received it right away. So, I stole from my sister. So, like I said, every single thing that I've done wrong came up during that journey, right? Because stealing isn't really a good thing, but nevertheless, I did it. Every single perverted thought that I've ever had in my entire life during my walk to authenticity, it showed itself back to me, okay? Because that walk is very long. It takes about a year. It took at least about a year for me to get through it, okay? It's long because in it, it's not just all of these dark things that are coming up. It's the stories around these dark experiences. It's the experience that replays itself. So, if, you experience any type of, molestation as a child or anything and every single thing that is dark or that's we're conditioned to believe is dark, that resides in your subconscious, it comes up. And it came up for me. So every single perverted thought, like I said, that I've had, in my life came up. So, when I explored the, in order to experience the sexual healing part, in that journey, I felt guilt, something I had felt deep, deep guilt and shame about, okay? Guilt and shame because, as a child, I masturbated, okay? But I did that because I had hormonal changes and I was also sexually molested as a child by different people, of course. And so my body had, experienced what it's like, feeling orgasm or aroused, I guess, so my physical body went through at a very young age the feelings of arousal. And because of that, I liked those feelings. I didn't know, right? I'm a child. All I knew is I felt, I felt a certain way. And when I felt a certain way, that's what I would do. Right. But that part of me made me feel so much guilt and shame that every time I was done, I would experience guilt, shame, and fear. Oh my God. The fear of getting caught whilst you're doing that. I mean, that takes guilt and shame to a whole new level. Okay. And so what I didn't realize, like as I'm doing the journey, because like I said, these things are coming up, but whilst they come up, you're also learning the universal divine lesson because the universe is walking with you at this point in this journey. And what I didn't realize is the guilt and shame that I was feeling. I had rolled myself, conditioned my own self by feeling it every single time I had that experience with regards to that it rolled itself into shaping me as an adult. So when I became an adult, I love, I enjoyed sex, of course, but I also enjoyed it because I enjoyed, I enjoyed watching some porn with my partners. I enjoyed, and where did I learn about porn? Oh, right, that was from the magazines that I was introduced to by an older man who molested me as a child, right? So images that I'd seen that was imprinted, okay? And so, and again, I saw these images. And so even in my relationship, when I was unable to achieve a natural orgasm, I would, I would remember one of these images and then I would achieve what, I later on learned in this journey. I mean, it's been 4 years then I would achieve what I thought was a real orgasm, but essentially was fake, right? Well, it wasn't fake because I did orgasm, but it was based on, again, an image that I would, imagine in my head. So it wasn't really me having a powerful divine, experience of what sexuality it's supposed to be all about, but it was me having an experience that was coming from my pain body. Okay? An experience from my pain body that came from the trauma that I was carrying as a result of my childhood experiences, right? And that's only, one example. And the reason I'm using that example is because this has come up for many, many people. Okay, and many, many people I know are afraid of talking about these types of experiences because they're afraid of being judged. They're afraid of being judged for expressing themselves sexually. Okay, and that judgment, again, it's coming from that self-judgment, and that fear is all, it's coming from a deeper place. But I want you to realize that where it's coming from is from your pain body. Okay, and I want to say, don't allow that judgment to rob you of the courage. Okay, don't allow it to rob you of courage, because that judgment will rob you of the courage to be all of who you are. Don't allow it to rob you of courage to continue in this journey, to continue to see yourself and embrace yourself for all of who you are. Okay, I don't regret having any of my I regret having that fear. Yeah, no, I don't regret. I actually don't feel regret. I don't regret. I guess what I'm trying to say is I do not regret having the experiences during my walk, of authenticity. Okay, I don't regret having any of those experiences, because on the other side, I came out with this realization that all these years, okay, I was feeling guilt and shame about something that my pain body tricked me into feeling. Because at the end of the day, those things that I did, I did it because, again, like I said, because of the experiences that I had as a child, okay? And as a child, I couldn't possibly think the way I think now, okay? And I couldn't possibly see things, at that time because I was too young. I didn't have the experience, my perceptions weren't fully developed, okay? The experiences weren't there, to the extent that it is now, right? So I was unable to see things the way I do now. And so all of my entire life, I carried guilt and shame about something that I had no control over, in essence, I had no control over it. And for the parts of it that I did have control of, so for the parts of it where I chose to relieve myself with pleasure, it was okay, because that is healthy, that is normal, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? It's how we were conditioned to think about what we do and so forth. That's what's wrong, because we're conditioned with a whole bunch of limiting beliefs and unrealistic expectations, and those conditioning are coming from the people who teach us, right? And our parents or whoever taught us, right? Because they themselves can only come from where they're at in their journeys, right? And it's from their conditioning and their own limiting beliefs and so forth. So, at the end of the day, and so like I said, as I walked this journey, because I do want to share, now that I've opened up Pandora's box here, I want to make sure that as many people as, possible, if they need to watch this video multiple times, right, just to get them through that fear, breaking down that wall of fear, just so that they can continue the rest of their journey and to awakening and awakening all of who they are. Then I am going to make sure, to the best of my ability through my video that I share as much as I can. Okay. And so, stealing was one of the things that came up for me. Sexuality, that was huge. Okay. That was the biggest one, because again, that affected my entire life. It affected, the relationships, that I've had with men in my life, the relationships that I chose, with my partners and so forth. And it affected me for a long time. And it wasn't until I began, again, this part of my spiritual journey, which, I've been doing for the last 4 years, deeply, deeply, that all of those things began shifting, right? All of those judgment. So whenever you are, the next time as you're walking on this road to authenticity, the next time you feel fear and you feel judgment, beautiful beings, just examine it, go into that space, and believe you me, when you come out of it, you're going to realize that, everything is a mirror. Okay, everything is a mirror, and it's there to teach you something about yourself, because these are the type of judgment that we carry that affects how, the type of partners we attract into our life. Okay, it affects, the choices that we make in our life, in our businesses, birthing my company, so many fears. I've had to literally learn how to get out of my own way, like the Buddha said. This is why that's my favorite quote of his, or mantra. It's important to learn how to get out of your own way, because fear will paralyze us. Fear will stop us from doing the things that we need to do in order to rise to our highest authentic selves. Okay, and fear, the fear will stop us because of our judgment. I remember when the thoughts were coming up, I was getting flashes of these thoughts that I had, these experiences that I had, and I was like, oh my God, I remember I used to literally, this was the biggest part. This is the part of my journey I isolated as well, because I remember I would sit in my apartment, okay? And when this thought would come up, like, oh my God, Francesca, when you had sex with this person, you imagine, some porn that, in my mind at this point was, it's out of alignment. And that is like so wrong. And, I would sit and I'm thinking, holy shit, if anybody find this out, they're going to think I'm some sort of a pervert or something like that. Because again, all of these words, okay, all of these thoughts were put there, okay, we were conditioned by it, okay. It was brought into our vibration externally by people themselves who experience these thoughts. But of course, nobody's going to sit on Facebook Live like I am today probably and say, hey, guess what, I enjoyed porn at one point in my life, because that's as far as I felt, sexuality, that was all I knew, okay. Sexually, that was all I knew. And, I didn't know about Tantra and all of these other beautiful things I've, enjoyed, learning about and so forth, right? And so for me, that was the extent of my knowledge when it came to that subject matter, okay? So I want to encourage everybody, again, by sharing and showing myself to everyone, that there is nothing to be afraid of. Don't allow your ego to trick your mind don't allow your ego to use your pain body. Okay, it's part of your pain body anyways, to trick your mind into believing something that's not real. Because like I said, when I was experiencing, those thoughts would come up, and I used to I would sit in my apartment and I would look around and I would have to remind myself, Francesca, there is nobody here, because I would panic and I'd go, holy shit, what if somebody finds out? What if somebody sees me? And I would physically have to look around my apartment to remind myself that the apartment is empty and I'm the only one sitting here. I would look at my walls just to bring myself back into grounding, okay, to ground myself, to remember that these thoughts, that somebody's watching me, or somebody might find out what I'm thinking, or, and judge me about it. These thoughts were not only not real, it was all in my head. And there was nobody in my apartment but me. Yet I was paralyzed by the fear of thinking that, oh my God, what if somebody finds out? Well, how in the world is somebody going to find out unless I'm sitting on Facebook Live and sharing it with everybody like I am today, 4 years later, okay? How is anybody going to find out? Nobody's in my head. Nobody could see these thoughts that I'm having. Nobody could have known that I stole from my sister when I was 13 years old money to give to my boyfriend at the time. Nobody could have known that because I'm thinking it, and nobody is there but me. Okay? And I'd like you to sit with that for a minute and think. No one else is there in your mind. Nobody else is there but you. You, beautiful beings, and all of who you are. And all of who you are is okay. It's okay because you are learning. You are learning just like I am, okay? We all make mistakes. We all carry trauma. We all have, different density of pain bodies that has shaped us into becoming who we are, or that has shaped us into running these cycles, okay? And they're everything. It's all cycles, okay? Believe you me, it's all cycles that has shaped us into running these cycles of limiting beliefs and conditioning, okay? That is designed to keep us stuck. And the moment you find that courage, okay, within to just allow that feeling, whatever it is, to come up, okay, allow it to come up and be okay with it. Be gentle with yourself, because the moment you allow it to come up and you feel its vibration and you connect to it, okay, connect to the vibration of that feeling, okay, and allow it to rise, allow it to fall, and just feel it. Go into meditation at that point if you have to, okay? The moment you allow that to happen, as soon as you experience that point, okay, where you're okay with it and you're able to experience being present, okay, and you're okay, and you're okay with it, and you start to experience the forgiveness of self, okay? Forgiveness of self, very, very important in this journey, because again, that's another, one of our pain body things, right? Where, the moment you experience that forgiveness of self is the moment you come out on the other end of that fear, or you come out on the other end of this journey with courage, okay? With courage and the realization that we are all the same, okay? And it takes about 3 years to see this, okay? About 3 years, meaning 3 levels of enlightenment to see and really, really get to see that all of humanity is exactly the same. We all feel judgment. We all feel fear. We all feel, shame, guilt, whatever pain body emotion there is, we've all experienced it at some point in our lives, okay? Whether it's during our childhood or as adults, whatever, we all experience the same emotion. What we experience is different density of that emotion, so different levels of it, and that's depending on the density of your pain bodies, right? So which is your pain bodies molded based on the trauma and whatever experiences you've had from childhood, okay, and whatever, and some of it, a small part of it is also from the experiences that your parents have had, and whatever trauma they're carrying in their energetic vibration. Some of that gets transferred to you, right, through DNA, right, and so forth. And that's another big topic. It is a very deep topic. I want to focus this topic specifically on self-judgment, because self-judgment is what will keep you stuck in this journey. Fear, okay? The self-judgment will generate the vibration of fear. And that fear is what's going to either stop you in your tracks as you're trying to awaken and move into the next phase of your journey, okay, so that you can step into your full conscious self, okay? So it will either stop you because you're paralyzed by that fear of judgment and that fear of being seen, or it will, or you will have you will have the courage, okay, to rise above it. Hopefully, if you didn't before, hopefully after you've seen this video, okay, to rise above it, because on the other side of that, when you get through all of those dark parts, okay, I call it the dark night of the soul, which is an understatement, because this dark night of the soul is actually the most beautiful journey, the most beautiful thing that could happen to our soul. It's when we experience light, because at the end of that internal journey, there is actually the most beautiful light and bliss and peace. Like I said, after my experience with, in particular, when I walked that path to authenticity, to become one with myself, okay, to become one with my highest conscious self, that was when I actually experienced my second level of enlightenment. Okay, so it is my hope that me sharing will encourage you, okay, to continue on in your journey to awakening, and don't let any of these thoughts or judgment of people stop you ever from trying to accomplish that whatever goal you want to accomplish in your journey. Not everyone wants, I understand that everyone wants to do the journey of the Buddha. Not everybody wants to different people might want to stop during their journey at different levels along the way, and that's okay. We're all unique, we all have unique purposes, right? And yet we're all the same, right? And that's the beautiful thing about doing this journey, is the realization, of the delusion that's built all around us. It's just absolutely amazing when you come into that realization that we're all the same, okay? And if somebody, so now taking that judgment and how we project it onto others, okay? So if somebody is, I'm going to use the most extreme example here, and I'm doing that on purpose. I'm doing that on purpose because there is power to forgiveness, okay? And when you stop seeing the world through the eyes of your own judgment, you will realize, like I said, that we're all the same, okay? So for example, if there's somebody out there, okay, that might have molested you as a child, or might have, it's doing stuff that is out of alignment, okay? I said there was a trigger warning on this Facebook Live, okay? Coming into the realization that the person who's doing that is only coming from where they're at in their journey. And you never know what happened to that person in their life that has pushed them so hard to the point that this is what they feel that they needed to do, okay, in order to express themselves, okay? And it is really, really important that we, rather than judging and prosecuting someone for something, yes, I'm glad there are laws, that take care of people who do that, in extreme ways, right? We need that because we're in this world, and this world can be very, very brutal, okay? So I'm in no way condoning any of that behavior, and I want to make sure I state this clearly. I'm in no way condoning anything, okay? What I'm trying to say is, at the end of the day, we're all humans, okay? We're all have things that happen in our lives that shape us into something, okay? There are things that happen in our lives as childhood, okay, during our childhood that shape us into a certain way of being, whatever that way of being is, okay? And I had to, when I was creating my company, Brothers in Arms, okay, I had to look at every single person, okay, the life. I had to enter the life of every single person that was a part of my journey, okay, and come to a state of understanding and seeing that person the way I saw myself. And when I start to look at my own limiting belief and conditioning and even my own thoughts, okay, and then I would mirror it back, right? And I start to look at the people who, you know, were a part of my life, you know, and you know, whether they're, you know, as the people who were a part of the darker parts of my life, okay? I felt, you know, I had to do the journey that brought me to into a state of compassion, okay? And I felt great compassion for those people because at the end of the day, growing up in the culture that I grew up in, and when you see how poorly, you know, some people how poor, you know, some people grew up and the hardship and the physical violence, holy shit. I could not possibly put into words, okay, the depths of physical violence, okay, that happens, okay, that happens in my culture, okay. And when I say culture, I mean in the country that I grew up in. And when I say physical violence, I'm talking about not just physical violence like against women, but it's like with the children, you know, the women taking out their anger on the children and so forth, okay. When you get to the point and you're able to see everything, okay? And I mean everything in people's lives and the way, you know, things shape them into being who they are, okay? You feel compassion and you feel empathy because beautiful beings, even when I was sitting in that homeless shelter and, you know, I asked myself the question that, my God, if this happened to me, would I have made the same mistake that those people made? Would I have made the same choices? The fact is, and the truth is, I don't know that answer, okay? None of us do. Some of us, because not all of us have the same level of resiliency, okay? Not all of us have the same level of resiliency and ability to control certain aspects of ourselves, okay? And I'm that part, I'm just going to let that sit right there, okay? I'm going to let that sit right there because, again, this is a very, very deep topic. And, you know, I could, you know, roll it into another topic along the same line that's deeper, but I want to stay focused and you know, stay focused on judgment and courage, okay? Self-judgment and courage and the encouragement of people. So, you know, to encourage people to walk that journey of authenticity without fear, okay? And I'm saying without fear, I'm not going to lie, the fear will come up, it will be there, but don't allow that fear and that self-judgment to deter you from taking the right path, okay, or from reaching your highest authentic self. You know, think of it, I like to simplify it, okay? I simplify it for my clients and I say, think of it as think of yourself as standing in front of a mirror, okay? So here is me, Francesca, with all of my conditioning and limiting beliefs and all of the experiences that have shaped my life into being who I am today. And then there's a mirror in front of me. And in that mirror, there's a reflection. And there in that reflection is Francesca, her highest conscious self looking back at her, okay? So think of it that way. And that journey, okay, the walk to authenticity, That's what that's all about. You are walking from where you're at and all of who you are towards that person in that mirror, okay, to become one with that person. And that is the simplest way I can explain this, okay? Beautiful beings is the simplest way I can explain, the journey to authenticity. And even though, yes, the mirror could be right here in front of you or right over there, in front of you, yes, it is indeed the longest part of your journey. But believe you me, when you get to the other end of it, you will realize every single human being on the planet is exactly the same. So what are you judging yourself for? Why are you beating yourself up? Why are you holding yourself back? Right? Why? Because you feel fear. You feel fear that paralyzes you and robs you of the courage to step forth and be all of who you are. And going back to my experience before I did this Facebook Live this morning, when I did my meditation, I realized that, in my meditation, something beautiful happened, and I merged with, it's not the first time I've merged with this, but I merged with like my Shiva energy, okay, because I saw him, but I saw his body like, so one side was one color and the other side was a different color. And I knew what was happening, right? And I thought, God, why the Shiva energy of all energy why is that the energy that I'm, experiencing today? Because it's a fierce, extremely fierce power, but yet powerful in a great way, right? Fiercely powerful energy. And, and because for me, this topic is so deep, right? And it's, I was like, oh my God, this is a topic I visualize talking about from my state of presence and softness and love and all of those beautiful bliss, because that's the only energy I felt could get me through the topic. But in reality, Shiva, was showing me that I need a lot of courage too, and that fierce energy, that fierce power to help get me through to the point where I even did the Facebook Live. Like I said, I was sitting here and sweating and so forth, right? But it is a topic that I was deeply, deeply guided to talk about, because so many people either turn back when they get to this part in their journey, or they give up. So they give up when they get to this part in this journey, and they start to see themselves, because they can't handle seeing themselves that way, because they're afraid of being judged, and they're afraid of being seen. But what they don't realize is every single person on the planet is exactly the same, and we all have the same fear, and we all experience this at exactly that same point in our journeys. Okay? And, like I said, this topic of judgment came up the entire week for me. The universe kept showing me, you're going to be talking about this, Francesca. I even had somebody, as I was picking my daughter up, calls me and, at 3:00 in the afternoon, because I avoided talking about it yesterday. I was supposed to do this on Facebook Live yesterday, and I bought some time, because again, I didn't have the courage to share some of what I shared, right? Again, because that's how deeply our own fear could try to keep us stuck, right? And somebody even called and said, hey, Francesca, I just sent you something about judgment. And I thought, God damn it, the universe is screaming it at me, right? And this morning, as I'm sitting down with coffee at the parent coffee time at my daughter's school, we're all sharing. And one of the women turned around and said to one of the other parents, hey, you've been sitting really quiet. You're not saying anything. He looked up, he said, yeah, that's because I'm just listening and judging everybody and judging everything. And I thought, holy shit, I've got to do this Facebook Live today or I'm going to burst, right? The universe is going to find a way to make me do this. So let's just, so I came home, and that's when I started sweating, and I listened to Metallica, nothing else matters, okay? Because beautiful beings, nothing else matters. This journey is about you, okay? And all of the things that you think that paralyzes you, all of the thoughts that paralyze you with fear and so forth. It's coming from your pain bodies, okay? And it doesn't matter, because who is going to judge you? The other person that had the same thought, or have the same feelings. So it's you that's judging yourself. So when you learn how to get out of your own way, okay, and you start to see the world through the eyes of your perception, which is through the eyes, through your senses, and you start to experience the world, okay, through your senses, okay, which is your highest authentic selves. So that's all I wanted to say. Stop beating yourself up. And if you keep finding yourself getting to this point in your journey and you experience fear and you feel like quitting, don't quit. Don't quit. Believe you me. Like I said, there's light at the end of the tunnel. I never thought in a million years that I would be sitting on Facebook Live sharing about, the thoughts that I've had, sharing about my sexual fantasy, in the past, sharing my pain body, exposing my own pain body to that depth. I never thought in a million years that I would be doing this here today. Okay. And I'm doing it, and I'm feeling fiercely powerful and very comfortable, because I don't even care if somebody is going to judge me because of it, or project, their pain body judgment of themselves, because they don't have the courage to see themselves and so forth on me. It doesn't even really matter, because, my friends, I'm on my own journey. And my journey, as a child, since childhood, I wanted to be like Jesus. And I did everything that I possibly can to become Jesus. And then I realized, I laugh at myself now, because I realize all of the things that I did, yes, they shaped my life beautifully in many, many ways. But then also I did some really stupid things, thinking that if I do enough of it, I'll be like Jesus, right? Because this is how Christianity shaped what my view of what Jesus was, right? I felt like I had to not, sin, right? God knows if I break any law from the Ten Commandments, I'm finished. I'm the devil, right? So, again, my desire as a child to be, like Jesus, so that I can take away all of humanity's pain, okay, take away everybody's pain, has shaped me into being all of who I am. And I plan to do this journey all the way to wherever, the universe decides that's going to be. And if it's all the way to Buddhahood or whatever that is, then so be it. Okay. I'm doing it. There is no turning back. I'm having the best time of my life right now, and the happiest that I've ever been in my life. Okay. I am, oh my goodness, there's so many beautiful things that I could share. It would take a lot longer to share it. It would be over an hour. It would be stories upon stories. Okay. And I mean, beautiful, powerful stories. You would think like, holy shit, she's lucky, but it's not luck, my beautiful beings. It's not luck. It has nothing to do with luck. It's what we are all capable of experiencing and doing for ourselves if we decide to become one with our highest conscious selves, okay? It is a beautiful journey beyond anything I can possibly put into words, okay? It is magical, and you beautiful beings are more powerful than you could possibly imagine, okay? The universe speaks energy, frequency, and vibration. And when you do this journey, when you get through it, okay, as you evolve, you start to learn, it teaches you how to tap into those vibration, okay? And it is the most beautiful thing you will ever experience. It's the most beautiful state of being you'll ever experience, okay? And so I want to encourage everybody to keep digging deeper, keep moving forward, and don't give up. Don't give up no matter how hard you feel this journey is. It's not as hard as you think it is. Okay. Remember, your thoughts aren't real because they're not real because they're coming from your pain body. Okay. And if it's coming from your pain body, it means your ego is tricking your mind, okay, into believing that what you're feeling is real. Okay. It's not real because when you come out on the other side of it, you realize that, oh my goodness, I can't believe I was holding myself back. I can't believe I thought that. Like, wow, and the realizations are just eye-opening would be a understatement, right? It's enlightening. It's enlightenment. Okay, it's yes, it's wisdom. Okay, and the wisdom that you extract, the amount of wisdom that you extract when you move forward in this journey. Okay, you extract it, and that is what shapes. That's when you're tapping. That's when you tapped in. Okay, that's when you've tapped into the consciousness of all of the divine beings before us. And that's when you get to see how beautiful you are. You're just like Buddha, okay? You're Buddha, you're Jesus, you're everybody, okay? Because you have that within you. You have that godlike energy within you, and you're capable of thinking exactly the same, okay? You just have to learn how to get out of your own ways, okay? So I love you guys. Um, Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you, thank you. And if you believe that this video will help somebody else, please, I encourage you to share it. Share it with the whole world. I will talk about it. I will talk about it. I will talk about more experiences if I have to. I want to show the world through me that it is okay. Okay, everything is okay, and don't let your thoughts, okay, and your conditioning stop you from experiencing the best time of your life. Okay, thank you so much for joining me. Namaste. I love you guys. I love you so much that this is my heart I'm sharing, my heart and my soul, and I hope you can feel it, and I hope you can see it from my share. Okay, thank you so much for joining me. I love you. Namaste. Have a fantastic, a divinely blessed day. Thank you.